I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. And we sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman, because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Okay, just all right, so briefly, I I always think it's hilarious to watch different types of people interact and different things happen. To watch you people in the comments, I love it. I love it. And what happens is, this is so politics is so strange that everybody's always so amped up, and it's like everybody's just ready to stab somebody. I'm ready to stab a bitch, you know, and just do what it does. And so everybody's always amped up. And so what's funny to me is when you see like train wrecks starting, and it's like you can't avoid it. Like you see two people. I see this all the time, all over social media. Two people who are on the same side talking about the same issue, but because of a problem, a breakdown in communication, they then start fighting. And I see it on here a lot because I have a couple people. We are very open to everybody, and we don't turn anybody away. We don't stop content, and I want people to speak out and be who they are, but at the same time I understand that there are people who might get in trouble for watching this because of where they work. I have sources who watch, and they work in some of the governmental offices that we deal with, so they have to come in. And I love it when I get people in here who are fighting over screen names, because for the longest time I was on Facebook solely. And so unless you had a fake account, everybody went by their name. And back then we just didn't have people that would comment, because they would watch but not comment, because if they were commenting, it would show who was commenting. And so now with YouTube, we have the ability to have screen names, but sometimes that gets people riled up. And it's funny to me because I'm like seeing two people who are generally normally on the same side. They're like, well, you're an asshole because you got a screen. It's always funny to me. And so I see that happening right now. It's hilarious to me because we've got Let's See Cloud in here and GW, and they're getting ready to go at it in the comments. But both GW and Les C. Cloud are dear people, friends of mine, people in my life. I sent you a message, GW, about Les C. Cloud. So that's funny to me. I love it. Anonymous bots, the lot of you. That's exactly right, Clinton. We're all bots here. I'm a bot. I love it. I love it. Hey, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I'm in a really good mood because for the first time in quite some time, I got in some pew range time today. It was a really fun time. Went and shot bullets with my brother, my youngest brother today, and had a good time doing that. And actually had a haircut appointment scheduled for today. I called and made it yesterday. Made a scheduled time. And then he contacted me today and he was like, hey, you want to go shooting today? And I was like, absolutely, let's do it. And so I didn't really pay attention to the time, and I was there shooting, and we shot through quite a bit of ammunition, and then which is always a good time. Always a good time. There's never anything that's hilarious. I just saw your text message, GW. Shooting is always a fun time, so I would highly recommend anybody shoot. If you're depressed, if you're sad, go shoot at a range. Be safe with it, obviously. Don't do anything stupid. I guess I shouldn't have said if you're depressed or sad, but shooting always makes me feel better. So I did miss my haircut appointment. I will reschedule. We are out of the crazy time, so hopefully tomorrow I will be able to get my haircut appointment back on track and get this stuff out of here. I hope you guys are doing well. Hey, this is the 299th episode of The Big Show. 299 episodes. That's unbelievable. That means tomorrow's show will be episode 300. And that's something. So God willing, we will be here and we will put on a good show for you tomorrow. We've got a lot to talk about because we have not did anything basically local all week. And we've got a lot to talk about locally this week. And so we will cover all of that tomorrow. Cover what's been going on in Muncie, and there's some Madison County news. I just got to let you know. There's some currently ongoing breaking news in Madison County. And I have been made aware of what's happening. But honestly, I'm not going to post about it because I'm not the newspaper and I don't need to break news. I like breaking news, specifically when I get it long before anybody else, but I just can't get into it because we've got too much to cover tonight. Maybe we'll do something about it on the back end, but tonight we're going to look at the debate that happened earlier today. The first gubernatorial debate in Indiana, the first appropriate gubernatorial debate in Indiana during the 2024 general election occurred today. All three candidates met on a stage in Indianapolis at Wish TV, and they participated in a debate for right at an hour. And so we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be discussing everything there. We are doing a show tomorrow. Yes, we will be We will be live tomorrow at 300, at episode 300. The reasoning is because of the power outage, we weren't here Sunday, and I had hoped to start episode 301 Sunday. So in order to schedule episode 301 for Sunday, we have to do 300 either tomorrow or Saturday, and it makes more sense to go ahead and do it tomorrow. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about all that. I do want to ask you, if you're here, if you would, if you're spending some time here listening, please toggle over and do the things on YouTube. If you like what we do, then all I ask you to do is do what you know you need to do and how to do, and we don't have to then talk about it. So please like, click, share, talk, and we can get on with the show. So we had an interesting, let me make sure we've got this shared out the way that it needs to be. I don't think that I did what I was supposed to do, because I was taking care of people trying to kill each other during the intro. I didn't exactly do what I didn't get my work done. So how many of you in here watched the debate live? Did who watched the debate live? Anybody? And while we are getting ready, my question is to you. I've got two questions I actually want to see from the audience. Number one, I would like to ask, whoops, let's get this switched here. I would like to ask, number one, what was a high point of the debate? Tell me a high point of the debate. And number two, give me a low point. Give me a low point of the debate. Maybe tell me something that you think that Rainwater didn't do well on, or something that you think that maybe he could improve upon. Because look, while I'm supporting Rainwater and I want him to win, and I'm pushing him and I'm supporting him, I'm still not going to just be blind to what's going on in the world. If he messes up or does wrong, I will call him out. If he does something I don't think that he should do, I will call him out. And it is what it is. When he messes up, I will let him know, hey, I think you did something wrong here. And so there's a couple things that I want to talk about here in a bit that I think that he could have. Yes. And that's going to be the number one thing. That's going to be the number one thing that we're going to talk about. My high point was when Rainwater put Braun in his place. Low point, having not seen it, was anytime that lady from oh, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. So, okay, here's the thing. Yeah. I didn't see it, but the only way I see Rainwater losing if he used all his time on the first question and they cut his mic off for the rest of the debate. That is an issue with Rainwater sometimes. So here's the thing. Number one, I don't know. They don't, no one comes out and says, who wins or loses. What's comical is from the debate that occurred on Wednesday, what happened on Wednesday was ridiculous because it wasn't a full debate. and you have both sides came out immediately after the debate was over and said, I won. Now, I think that's pretty good, because basically when you don't have a clear-cut winner, then it means neither one of them won, so that's okay. I'm okay with that. And basically, it lets us know that we are the losers. When we have that going on, we know that we, America, the Hoosiers, us citizens here, are the losers. And so that's what happened. We will get into this debate, straight away into the debate here. Give me 1 second. And let me get this pulled up. Before we launch into the debate and everything, I will briefly get this out of the way. Obviously, today is Thursday, October 3rd, 2024. That means we are 276 days with no communication from Muncie City Councilor Dale Basham. There that is. So everyone who's keeping track will know, 276 days without communication from Dale Basham. We are 33 days until this nightmare is over. 33 days until Election Day, Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. So keep that in mind. We are knocking on the door to voter registration being over. I helped 2 people today get registered, and I'm very happy about that. And I also helped someone understand that they were able to vote just because they have a felony on their record. For the last several years, they have not been voting because they didn't think that they can. And this is one of the absolute just travesties of life. And it shows kind of how our judicial system and our electoral system is set up to keep people down. And it's done purposefully, because I think that's something that folks should know. Just because there are some states that you cannot vote if you're a felon, and I think that is horrendous. I think that's absolutely horrible. However, Indiana is not one of those states. Okay? It is not one of those states. All right? You can vote with a felony if you're out of jail. As long as you're not locked up, you can vote. You can vote with a misdemeanor. You can vote with a felony. You can vote while on home detention. You can vote while on probation. You can vote. I know a man that had been convicted of taking a person's life. Actually, it wasn't like murder, and there's a whole lot of craziness behind it. Actually went to prison, did his time, got out, and he votes every election. So do not vote, or don't let people around you not vote if they are felons, because everybody gets to vote. So that's important. So number one, make sure people are voting if they're not. Number two, the voters registration ends at 11:59 on Monday, this coming Monday, October 7th. October 7th, 2024 at 11:59. If you need to get registered, you can simply go to www.indianavoters.com. That's www.indianavoters.com. And you can get registered. It will take you 3, 4, 5 minutes or less. It should be very easy for you to do what you need to do to get registered. I'm trying to find it here. There we go. And if you are able, if you need help finding it, it's down at the bottom of the screen, indianavoters.com. If you need help, because that's why one of the people contacted me, because they were having a hard time getting it to work. I've never heard many people have an issue, but do not fear. If you have a hard time getting registered, you just give me a call and I will help you. Do not let this bypass you. Okay, it's very important. All right. So with all of that being said, it's time to get into tonight's show. The big review of Indiana's first real gubernatorial debate, episode 299. We take a look at Mr. Braun, Mr. Rainwater, and Dr. McCormick while they were on the stage tonight. And it was interesting to see the performance. I think that Wish TV rather did a little bit better in their presentation of the how they went through this than Nexstar did. I think that it was a little bit better put together, I guess. I think the questions were a little bit more, they didn't just rapid fire through the questions. They allowed the people to speak a little bit, the candidates, and they allowed for them to have some time to kind of get through everything. So I think that they really did a good job with that. A complaint that I have is I understand that when you're doing something like this, it's important that you keep control of the time, you keep the people going, and you make sure that everybody has a pretty standard amount of time across the board, that not one person's getting more time than the other. I think that that's important. But I think that we also have to allow for there to be some like audibles called. And I think that we have to allow for people to say, wait, and I don't think that they did that very well. They were pretty locked in with what they did, kind of forcing the candidates to stay where they were. I'm trying to find the link here. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to get the link to actually come up. Because I'm gonna show you a little bit of what occurred. Man, okay. Well, we'll do it this way. We will show you from our feed. Why? I guess that's the easiest way to do it. I was trying to show it from Wish TV, but we'll show you from our feed. Give me 1 second here. Get this pulled up. Okay. Damn, I don't know why this is being so difficult tonight. Give me a second. Okay, here we go. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulty there. All right, we'll put this up on the screen, and we'll get through the nonsense and straight into the questions.
Plan does back to where they were at least a couple years ago. People were complaining about it. And of course, it started when we were hit with record inflation. And we had a system in place that could have worked until that came along. The circuit breakers that were put in place by the Daniels administration.
Here, the question obviously
weren't doing the jobs.
The question obviously is cutting or reducing property taxes. So we're not gonna watch the whole thing. You can go and watch this on our show, and we're just gonna hit some of the high points and some of the low points. So let's listen in.
So I was the first to come out with a policy because you heard it all the time. And what I heard mostly is that those most vulnerable on property taxes going out of range, young couples, elderly, were having trouble paying their property taxes. So if we don't get them under control, reset them, which my plan does, back to where they were before they did go out of control, cap them in terms of where your bill can't go up any more than 2% for young and elderly couples, 3% for everyone else, transparency, and have referenda that are done in a general election, not a slow election.
Okay, Mr. Braun, thank you very much. Ms. McCormick, 60 seconds to you. Same question.
Hello, Hoosiers. Yes, I know property taxes are a huge concern because I'm a fifth-generation farm family. I am a teacher. I am a businesswoman. I am also a Hoosier. I am a wife, and I am a military mom, and I certainly know that property taxes are weighing on everyone. I'm also a homeowner, and I was your last elected state superintendent of public instruction as a Republican, so I also know, too, the role that property taxes play. I am proud of our common sense property tax plan that we put out that really gave a savings to all Hoosiers, and we approached it in a way that would be bipartisan. So we took the best of the best bipartisan language that was already established by Republicans and Democrats in the General Assembly. And we use that language. We already have fiscal, so it's ready on day one to give relief to all Hoosiers, particularly our seniors and our veterans. And we plan to save $660 million in the process and save our local governments.
Ms. McCormick, thank you very much. Mr. Rainwater, same question
Right
to you,
out of the
sir.
gate.
60 seconds.
So, Senator Braun, I apologize for having to correct you right away, but actually 4 years ago, while you were in Washington, D.C., being a U.S. Senator, and I debated Governor Holcomb, I promoted the idea that we should, first of all, cap property taxes at 1% of the purchase price of the property, and it should never go up because your property taxes should not go up. You should not be taxed on the unrealized gains in your property's value increasing. And then I also said that we should limit that to 7 years. And that was in 2020. So I actually came up with the plan first because I recognized many years ago as a Hoosier homeowner that property taxes were spiraling out of control.
Mr. Rainwater, thank you very much. Mr. Braun, 30 seconds on rebuttal. Would you like to comment?
In terms of a plan that has been fleshed out recently that actually had some real effort put into in terms of what would be reasonable and practical, also to where it was going to make sure local governments and school districts had enough to keep growing. It addressed the most critical issue, reset it before we got inflation from DC by the current administration. And when we did that, it's a plan that'll work into the future.
Okay, Mr. Rainwater, your hand is up. 30 seconds, rebuttal.
Fellow Hoosiers, I just want to make sure that you're aware that Mr. Braun has no idea how much effort I put into my plan. or how much planning I've done or what I've considered as far as the things such as TIF districts and 10-year tax abatements that we currently give corporations in the state of Indiana when considering how we can fund local government. He has no idea.
Ms. McCormick, your rebuttal on cutting property taxes. Go ahead.
Sure. Our plan was so well received because it offered a relief to Hoosiers immediately, but also protected our local levels. We don't want to defund the police and our schools and our libraries and our parks and our fire. Senator Braun's plan came after that local level and farmers. And so he had to come back out with Plan 2.0. I'm not sure what plan we're on. It's kind of like commercials. We just keep redoing them. But, you know, our plan was well received. It is full of common sense, and we're ready to add that relief that Hoosiers so desperately need.
Candidates, thank you very much. We have a lot to get to tonight. We have to
That's
move
a great
on
picture to freeze on.
Let's turn now to immigration. Immigration and the southern U.S. border have been a hot button topic in both local and national political conversation. So our question to you is this: what should be the role of Indiana state government in addressing it? Ms. McCormick, we start with you. 60 seconds.
Sure. Thank you for the question. Illegal immigration is certainly a concern for the federal government. It needs to be solved at the federal level. And what we have seen is a lack of a willingness for decades to solve the problem. And unfortunately, we had a common sense, very bipartisan immigration border bill that was put up in D.C. and even the Border Patrol supported it, and Senator Braun voted against it. So those protections that would have helped Indiana, he voted against. In addition, we need to embrace legal immigration and making sure that we establish utilizing that in a strong economy. 6% of our population are here legally, and they play a huge piece of our tax issues. They are over $4 billion that they play into the taxes we receive and are a critical part of our economy.
Okay, Ms. McCormick, thank you. Mr. Rainwater, same question to you. 60 seconds.
Absolutely. So, first of all, as a libertarian, I believe that the role of the governor of the state of Indiana is to enforce the rule of law in the state of Indiana. We have state laws and state regulations, and we need to follow them. More importantly, at the federal level, we have a complete failure of our federal government. Both the Republicans and the Democrats have failed to enforce their constitutional mandate to manage immigration. And we need for both sides of the aisle, if you will, to do what's best for us everyday average Hoosiers and handle the immigration issue instead of making it a political football.
Okay, Mr. Rainwater, thank you. Mr. Braun, the question to you now.
So this one is very simple. Under the Trump administration, we had taken illegal immigration
up here to my
to record
point.
lows. As soon as the Biden-Harris administration got in there, it was open borders. And the consequences of that has been chaos, making every state a border state. Not to mention that in the process of it, 100,000 fatalities due to fentanyl, which the cartels bring across an open border. The national security issue of all the folks that are coming in under that policy that was working so well before is really a tragedy for this country. I won't go through the crimes that even come here to Indiana. We hear it all the time. And the presidential candidate, Harris, was the border czar. She's got to make that litigation of why the border was that porous and why we've got the consequences from it.
Okay, I see we have two hands up. Mr. Rainwater, we'll start with you. 30 seconds.
You know, I hear Senator Braun say it's a simple solution, but my question is, if the man has been a U.S. Senator for the last 6 years, why hasn't he solved it then? Why is it that he thinks that he can do more as governor of the state of Indiana to solve the immigration problem when it is a federal constitutional issue than he can as a U.S. Senator?
Okay, Mr. Rainwater, thank you.
All right. So my first problem is I think I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if I'm wrong, I just missed it. But I think that was the actual first rebuttal. Okay. I think that was the first rebuttal. So they gave Rainwater 30 seconds. Listen, folks, you can't say anything in 30 seconds. You specifically can't say anything really worth a damn in 30 seconds if you're Donald Rainwater or Christopher Bilbrey. I mean, that's just not something that's possible. I wish, and look, I know that the Wish TV local channels aren't doing 90-minute debates. I guess my question is why? Why? To me, the office of governor of the state of the governor of the state of Indiana is the most important election on my ticket. I look at this differently. In my opinion, the governor of your state is your most important election. And then you can say your president is if you want. But the governor of your state affects you more so on any given day in your state than, say, the president of the United States. So, in my opinion, number one, hell, there's only 2 of these, 3 of these, 4 of these maybe a year. They don't do much in the primary. So, I don't understand why, number one, they couldn't allot 90 minutes to this and allow them to have appropriate time to be able to get out their thoughts so they're not so jammed together. So that's my first complaint about the whole process overall. And, it's something they need to deal with. Of course, they're not going to do that because time is money, baby.
McCormick, 30 seconds to you.
Again, it goes back to Senator Braun was in D.C. and Mr. Rainwater is correct that he had time to fix it. And when he was presented with a bipartisan bill that was put forth by some of the most conservative congressional people, he voted no. And the perception in Indiana is he voted no for political reasons versus the safety of Hoosiers and the safety of Americans. The other piece of it in
that is a major problem that she has, and she has to navigate that. As Alva says, is anyone tired of McCormick talking about how the Republicans have been, part of the have not been part of the problem. They have been the problem in the state of Indiana for the last 20 years. But then she never mentions how she was part of that problem for 16 of those 20 years. So I think that that's a problem that they kind of hit her with a couple times. Rainwater brings it up a time or two. And I very much appreciate him for doing that. But that's something I would bash her with right and left, no pun intended. And really both of them, because they both have flip-flopped. Braun was a Democrat who's now a Republican. She's a Democrat who was a Democrat who's now a Republican. She was a Republican and is now a Democrat. And so he could have smacked them both around with that.
That bill had a huge piece for fentanyl detection, which we desperately need here in Indiana, and he voted no.
Mr. Braun, I see you have your hand up.
Very simple. I don't think any Hoosier would be for making it legal that you could have 5,000 illegal immigrants coming across the border daily. It was way, way lower than that, probably 10 to 20% of it when Trump had the border under control. The fact that it was opened and it was done under the same legislative platform that was in place with Trump, Biden-Harris responsible for it. That bill only had 3 Republican supporters because no one was for it for the reason I just said.
Okay, candidates, thank you. We have a lot to get to. Phil.
Corey, thank you very much. We turn now to abortion tonight. Indiana was the first state to pass a near total ban on abortions after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Do you believe Indiana should add additional restrictions on abortion, repeal the new law, or keep things as they are now? Mr. Rainwater, we start this question with you. 60 seconds, sir. Go ahead.
As a pro-life libertarian, I believe, first of all, that the governor's office needs to, once again, invoke the rule of law. It is the governor's job to execute the laws in the state of Indiana. The legislature is required to pass the laws. And then because we have a 3-branch government, the judicial branch is to determine if the law is constitutional. If there are changes that need to be made to the current law, then the judicial branch needs to determine if there is a constitutional question. And the legislature, which each one of you as Hoosiers can reach out to your legislator and let them know what you think they need to do to make the law better, if in case you feel it needs to be. Thank you.
Mr. Rainwater, thank you very much. Mr. Braun, should Indiana change its abortion laws? 60 seconds, sir.
So when Roe versus Wade was overturned and brought back to the states, it's where it should have been in the first place. And our legislature took that issue up and got with their own constituents, the citizens of this state. And it's a pro-life state. They crafted a bill that's got reasonable exceptions that mustered not only the legislative process, but even the courts. So when it was put together, it was vetted
Rainwater
with
gets him
the
here.
people of our state. And the people of our state are pro-life. So I think they did a good job. It was reasonable in the way it was constructed. And I think it's held up through the courts. And I think it reflects that idea that you're probably never going to get anything done at the national level. I couldn't imagine 60 senators agreeing on that issue. That is a false premise. If you say any side, Democrat or Republican, will do it nationally, thank goodness it came back to the states.
Mr. Braun, thank you very much. Ms. McCormick, 60 seconds to you. Should Indiana change its abortion laws?
Yeah, so obviously I'm the only female on the stage. I'm the only person who has been pregnant, who has given birth. I am a mom, and I'm a proud military mom. What I will say is I trust women. And I trust our healthcare providers. And this topic is so complex. And I think it's so interesting that men are the ones telling women what we can and cannot do with our bodies. And Senator Braun is saying, you know, bring it to the people and let us have our voice. Let's do it. Put it to a ballot initiative. Let's start it. Let's see what happens. Because across the nation, Americans have talked. Hoosiers don't have that option. So we rely on a governor who will fight for women in order to give us a voice. 60% of Hoosiers believe in allowing women to make the decisions about their health care. It is that simple. My opponent's ticket has said no exemptions for rape, no exemptions for incest. Senator Braun said he thinks we got it right. We need to go back to the standards of Roe and trust our women. And Hoosiers, I have your back on this.
Mr. Braun, she brought up your name. I'll go to you in a second. But first, Mr. Rainwater, I saw your hand was up. 30 seconds on rebuttal.
Fellow Hoosiers, I just want to point out 2 things. First of all, I know many Hoosiers, lifelong Hoosiers, who are pro-choice. So, and I've never read anywhere in our state constitution where it declares that Indiana is a pro-life state. I don't know where Senator Braun gets that from. But I also know many women in the state of Indiana, lifelong Hoosiers, who are pro-life. So when Dr. McCormick makes it sound like all men are evil and that only women should speak on this issue, I do trust women as well. And there are many women who tell me that they're pro-life and that they agree.
Unfortunately, Mr. Rainwater, your time is up there, 30 seconds. Ms. McCormick, I will let you respond, but Mr. Braun, go ahead.
Problem number two. And this is I'm going to throw this problem in the Rainwater category and back at Wish TV. Like, damn. These moderators need to go be moderators for like Trump and the presidential, like Harris and all those people. Because, man, when they say it's time, like it's time, they don't. I've never, ever, ever, ever heard this in a debate. I've never heard them not allow the person to get the final consonant out of their mouth so they can finish the word finish the thought, finish the sentence, I'll tell you what, I will give you 5 more seconds to finish the thought. 8 more seconds. You know, can I get 7.5 more seconds, sir? Like, that's so problem number 1. And some people put this on the original feed. Yes, Rainwater is a thinker. Rainwater is a talker. Rainwater does need to. The thing I love about Don, and that's what I love about having him on, because every place that he goes in this debate, they're doing 5-10 minute little radio segments, and Don is great in a 5 or 10 minute segment, but he blows away an hour and a half, 2 hour long form conversation, because Rainwater is the kind of person that you need to sit down with and talk and have a conversation with, which is good. It is good. I love him for that. Politically, it's kind of a detriment, because a lot of people are looking for that, you know, I want the elevator pitch, like, give me the political, like, blah, blah, you know, and again, you know, you got to kind of look at the situation. Do we want to change him to make him that, or do we want him the way he is? I want him the way he is. I'm already on board, though. He's not speaking to me. We're speaking to those 13 undecided voters. We're speaking to those 13 undecided voters. That was 13%. And so, did he sway anybody in that 13% undivided category with what he just said there? Maybe not. Maybe not. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. Don is good because he's a talker. He does get a little quicker towards as we move along. You know, it takes a while to get the juices flowing and to get into that speed. But, you know, love him or hate him, like it or not, he is who he is. He's a thinker. He's a talker. And you're not going to necessarily always get it in a 30-second blurb. And yeah, I do like that he's wearing a real sharp tie that I love. I love that, like, canary yellow. That is just amazing. And the backdrops, like, what a political, like, psychological kind of deal. Because that's the very first thing I saw when this thing started. I was like, because I didn't see the rest of them. I just saw Don. I was like, oh my God, they actually have yellow behind his head. And then I saw the rest of them, and I'm like, oh my God, they've got yellow behind all the rest of their heads too. That is hilarious to me. So yeah, I thought that was funny. But I wish he would have got that point out, or been able to finish his train of thought there. Yeah, it is what it is. So. Okay, let's move along here.
And give your rebuttal 30 seconds.
Well, I think I made it clear. We took it to our state legislature, took it up. They vetted it carefully. And in terms of whether we're a pro-life state or not, those issues you're going to have to get from listening to your constituents. And I think if the legislators that put it through, they did that. It was held up in the courts, and it reflects the majority of Hoosiers in this state.
Ms. McCormick, 30 seconds on rebuttal.
Yeah, at no time have I ever said that all men are evil. I've got a wonderful son, and I'm sure he's watching. I hope he is, and he's got some studying to do. I also have an amazing husband, an amazing dad, an amazing brother, and lots of nephews and a lot of friends. I never said that. I would never make that accusation, ever. But what I will say is I trust women. And when I trust women, if that equates to the people on this stage that I said that men are horrible people, that should tell you something.
Candidates, thank you very much.
Turn now to education.
So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to just be really honest. I I've met and talked with and known Jennifer a lot of times in the last couple of years. And I've listened to her talk a couple of times, just speak a couple of times about a couple different things, about specific points. And I've liked her during those times. She's been very personable. She's been very likable. I'm going to tell you, politics, first off, is a hard game. And I would say she's probably about worn out. I would say they all are about worn out at this point. We got 33 more days. We're in the home stretch. They're barely alive at this point. They're just going through the motions and doing it. This is when you got to really kind of kick the afterburners on and get to it. But something has happened. Something has happened in this election. She has come off more bitter to me every time I have seen her, every time I've listened to her speak. From there to me, there is a definite switch in her, I'm not talking about in her as a human. I'm just simply talking about my perception of her. I'm not talking about how maybe you perceive her. Maybe you don't see it that way. I'm just telling you from my point of view. I've seen her even when she first switched over to be a Democrat, because she's been a Democrat for a couple of years. And so she was a Democrat during some of those speeches that I saw her at and introduced, and we were talking, and she was just more bubbly. She seems to have lost some of that, or maybe she's just pissed off about what's going on or the election or what. I don't know. I'm just saying, again, we're speaking to those 13%. We're not talking to the people that already support McCormick, or the people that already support Braun, or the people that already support Rainwater. Those people are already voting. They're speaking to 13% of undivided. And are there any of those 13 people? Look, there's 13%. There's some of those 13% that are going to say, "Hey, I like her. She's a badass," or whatever. You know, they're going to skew that way. But I'm going to tell you, there's going to be some of those 13% that's going to say, "Man, she just comes off like she's got an attitude." Always. So I just, I don't know. Tweety Bird, that's very realistic. And I don't know that, you said it, not me. I just don't know how well she's succeeding in that. You know what I mean? Kind of like a chip on her shoulder. And I'm just saying, I don't agree with all of her politics at all. There's a lot that I disagree with, but I can tell you, meeting her a year and a half ago, I met her for the last time about a year and a half ago. Meeting her then, she was a bright person, sunshiny, bubbly person. And what I've seen from her during this last 9 months, 10 months, I've not seen that during any of her events.
And specifically school vouchers. Indiana has increased income eligibility, now more than $220,000 for a family of 4. State numbers also show that last year, 45% of vouchers went to families making more than $100,000, and that the state paid more than $439 million in voucher payments, money pulled away from the state's public schools. So our question is this: do you believe the voucher system is helping or hurting the education of Indiana's children? Mr. Braun, we start with you.
So to me, that's clear.
And I figured that comment would come. I that's not something I don't want. One of my biggest friends, one of my most dear friends, biggest friends, I guess I shouldn't, that sounds best friends is what I was trying to say. One of my best friends, dear friends, is Sarah Beach, who worked in Mayor Dennis Tyler's administration. And she will tell you straight out of her own mouth. There were people who treated me like I was a bitch from day one. And she was like, look, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm fine with people treating me. I was fine with that because I wasn't there to play. I wasn't there to joke around. I was there to work and to get things done. And if people didn't like it or people wanted to call me names or whatever, have at it. I'm fine with that. And Sarah carries that attitude and she carries it well. I don't have a problem with a strong woman. I'm a mama's boy. I think my mother is a strong figure. I've got strong women in my life. And, I don't have a problem with a strong, assertive, forceful woman. That's not something I am ever going to say. I'm just telling you, again, from my point of view, it's like sometimes politics changes people and not always for the better. And I just noticed this is something that seems, from my perspective,
we are a state that has been on the leading edge of choice and competition, and also to where we're putting the parent as the main stakeholder in his or her kid's education. That's the way it should be. When you have a one-size-fits-all, it's called a monopoly.
Let me pause this. And yes, I absolutely do. That same thing, that's my same approach to that. There's lots of people that I can tell you, and it's not this. You gotta take out of your mind this thing. This is not about a person's gender to me. This has nothing to do with the person being a woman or a man or whatever. This is just a person's personality. And I say often, I don't know which it is. I don't know if I'm an asshole with nice sunshiny tendencies or I'm a nice sunshiny person with asshole tendencies. But really, I'm fine either way because it's about a horse apiece. I very much care about if politics and the political game changes a man to where it hardens him and it makes him not a personable person. And that's something that matters. And again, it's not about me. It's not about me. I'm talking about the 13% of undecided voters out there, or whoever else that might be less than that or more than that or whatever. I'm just talking about the voters overall. From my perspective, I have no problem with a forceful woman. I have no problem with a woman that carries herself and is determined and whatever. The same thing with a man. And a man and a woman can be all of those things. And I don't think you have to be goofy and smiling and laughing and carrying on. You can be serious and down to business and driven all day long and still be able to be someone who is a public servant. Because keep in mind, these people aren't working as CEOs. It's not like this is my way or the highway. You got to keep in mind that at the end of a long day, at the end of a long week, at the end of a long month, at the end of a long term, these people have to be able to put up with all the bullshit. And still, when that 1 million and 1th customer comes through, and it's not a customer, it's actually when your 1 million and 1th boss comes through, you have to be able to have a smile on your face and say, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. What can I do to you? How can I better serve you? You can't be like, what do you want? I'm pissed off because of how the others were treating me. You got to be able to take the good and the bad and come out.
I
aim to serve.
happen to come from a great public school district. My wife and I went there. Our kids went there, and our grandkids are going there. Not all places have that same advantage. So if you're not for choice, competition, vouchers to make it doable, it's not a zero-sum game. We have enabled public school systems every year to have more resources, money following the kid, not the building. That was smart when that was done years ago. So all in all, choice, competition, parents in the driver's seat.
Mr. Braun, thank you for that response there. Ms. McCormick, same question to you.
Yeah, we have a lot of people in Indiana who profess to be education experts, and it's unfortunate because I believe in fiscal responsibility. And I believe if we're going to have a program that puts $1.6 billion into private education, we should be looking at the results, and the results aren't good. It also, make no mistake, this is not about parents choosing. This is about a school choice choosing. The admission policies need to be looked at. If I show up with a child and the school does not like the academic performance or the color of their skin or how they identify LGBTQ or their religious belief, they do not have to take them. Our state constitution is clear. It says to fund common schools, which are determined to be public schools. Public dollars need to go to public schools. That whole program needs to be reviewed. Also, it has not I've not lost sight of, it defines $220,000 for a family of four as a threshold of eligibility. And how many families in Indiana can say that they make over $220,000 for a family of four? It is certainly not serving Hoosiers.
Okay. Ms. McCormick, thank you. Mr. Rainwater, 60 seconds to you. Are school vouchers helping or hurting education?
Well, I believe thoroughly in universal school choice because I've been a parent in Indiana long enough to know that our public school system is failing. When our statewide standardized testing comes back and tells us that only 63% of the children that take the test are successfully doing well enough in math and English. When I went to school in Indiana, 63% was a failing grade. And we are spending almost 60% of our state budget on education. And yes, the state constitution says that the state will fund common schools. It does not say that the state cannot fund other schools. Every Hoosier is paying taxes in the state of Indiana, and every Hoosier should get the benefit of that money. There is no such thing as public money. It's your money. They took it from you.
Okay, Mr.
Yes.
Rainwater, thank you. Ms. McCormick, I saw your hand up first. I'll call on you 30 seconds.
Yeah, I just want to address the piece of performance. So Indiana schools have been under different standards in which we are responsible to teach kids as a moving target. We keep changing those standards because we've had 20 years of one-party rule. And it doesn't make a whole lot of common sense when we keep changing those standards before we know how we're performing. We also keep
listen to
changing the
this.
tests. And every time we do that, you're talking $40 million. So it's a waste of money. It's highly inefficient. And we really don't have good trend data to even decide what is and what is not working.
Thank you. Mr. Braun, we'll go to you next. 30 seconds.
I want to give a real world example of why we got to have choice and options. Small county next to where I live, Pike County, many years ago had mismanagement within the school district. The solution,
You don't say.
3 grade schools in a large county geographically. The one with the best performance was shut down to save money. Had it not been for the availability of a charter school, you would have had to bus those kids 20 to 30 minutes additionally. They are thriving now because they had the option and the parents went for it.
Braun, thank you. Mr. Rainwater, we'll go to you. 30 seconds.
I just want to point out that Dr. McCormick makes the point that the test has changed. As a matter of fact, when she was state superintendent of public instruction as a Republican from 2016 to 2020, if I remember correctly, not only did the test change a couple of times during her tenure, but she had to say, hey, the test results aren't what we expected, aren't what we want, so we're not going to use them for a couple of years here. Right. And that was a waste of millions.
Your time has expired. Thank you. All right. I see we have other hands up, but we do have a lot to get to tonight.
No,
Phil.
I got to address this. As state superintendent, I don't set policy. I implement. I wasn't the one responsible to change the state law to make us keep changing standards and keep changing assessment. That's not fair and it's not accurate. That's on the 20 years of Republicans leading our state.
Okay, Mr. Braun,
What
15
time
seconds to you.
was?
So again,
She forgot to add.
if you were in charge there for 4 years and results never got any better, I think you got to be held accountable when that's the one thing you did in state government. You can try to litigate it on why things weren't working. All I say is that has
Braun,
got to be.
Thank you for your time. Mr. Rainwater, 15 seconds to you.
15 seconds.
15.
Now,
we're going to ask you 15 seconds if you would like to rebut anything either of the candidates said.
No, I think we've said
here we go.
enough.
Okay, thank you.
This was probably the biggest. This is probably the biggest issue I had with Rainwater tonight. Is number one, he didn't take that time. Man, rock and roll right on through it, brothers. Talk. You can say something for 15 minutes. I'm done. I've talked to you, dude. You could have filled. You could fill that 15 seconds easily, which he should have done. Number two, when he said, I cringed a little bit when he said, I think we've said enough. I'm like, oh no, so that's my big, that was the biggest issue tonight. It was what it was, but they kind of just let her take her time there. Hey, yeah, Tucker, that is definitely a problem. I don't really understand. I don't like how they do that. And man, I mean, I'm telling you again, I don't know if they've got these guys on like some kind of like shot collar or whatever, but boy, when they tell them their time is up, it's like, psh, there they go. I wish that they would have pushed back on that a little bit, but it is what it is.
We do have a lot to get to tonight, Phil.
We do have a lot to get to tonight. Candidates, sit tight. You're watching this All Indiana Politics special from Wish TV. Stick with us. We will be right back after the break.
Map behind me, we've highlighted the state of Indiana. Here you can see that plainly in red. That is a state where many of us know, all of us know, of course, that marijuana usage is illegal.
Many of us know.
Out to the entire nation. Other states in red, you can see also that is where marijuana use.
Look at this map. Look at this map. Look at this map. So this kills me, because my question is, was Braun not taking a moment to look at this map? Because he answers a question. He makes a comment here in a minute that if he would have just been looking at the map in front of him, the answer he gave was completely stupid. So this map, it says it over there. The red states are legal, are illegal. So marijuana is illegal in all of the red states, fully legal in the green states, and medicinal only in the blue states. So, this is very telling, and I'm telling you, I absolutely hate this, but Indiana is going to be red or red and blue. We will be the last state that switches on this. I can promise you that. And I hate that. I absolutely hate that. And again, I'm not a smoker. I don't smoke marijuana. If they legalized it tonight, I wouldn't smoke it. Just not my bag. It's not my thing. But it needs to be legalized. It needs to be legalized now. And Rainwater kills it with this answer too.
Marijuana use is legal. What I want you to focus on next are the blue states. That is where marijuana use is legal for medical purposes only. Next, the green states. That is where marijuana use is fully legal. But especially focus here: Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois. It's the states around Indiana where marijuana use is fully legal. So our questions to the candidates tonight is this: do you support legalizing marijuana use in Indiana, either medical or recreational, or both? Ms. McCormick.
Yes, so 80% of the Hoosiers, I hear you. And we released our common sense cannabis plan, where we made it clear that we would start out with medical use, have a commission, get the medical use, get a well-regulated industry so we are not sloppy with it. We can learn from other states who have implemented what they did well, what they did not do well, making sure that law enforcement is at the table for those conversations. So it is a very inclusive conversation to hear their concerns. There are a lot of opportunities with this from the medical piece, because I've talked to a lot of Hoosiers that are wanting that option for the medical treatment in which they deserve and which they want. The other piece of that is then moving right into adult use. It is a conservative estimate, $177 million that we're leaving on the table when we are an island, as you saw on the map, with everyone around us who is legalizing. Everyone in Indiana is already using. So not everyone, but a lot of people in Indiana are using. So we also need to be cognizant of it's hundreds, if not thousands of jobs that are on the line.
Ms. McCormick, thank you. Mr. Rainwater, we turn to you for the same question.
So, fellow Hoosiers, first of all, we have well-regulated tobacco, alcohol, and prescription pharmaceuticals here in the state of Indiana already. We don't need to expand government. We don't need a new commission. We don't need new regulations. We can make cannabis in all forms, medicinal and recreational, legal right now.
Right now.
There's been plenty of study done. As we pointed out, states around us have already done that work. And we have been talking about this for a long time. If legislators are not prepared, that is their fault, and we should probably replace them.
Woo!
We should make this legal now. And as governor, I would make sure that all nonviolent criminal cannabis-related offenses are expunged.
Bing.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rainwater, thank you. Mr. Braun, same question to you. Where do you stand on legalizing marijuana?
Well, there's no doubt about it. Look at the map. It's cascading across the country. And at some point, when you're surrounded by 4 states, 3 of whom have actually probably one, I think Ohio is in the process of legalizing recreational.
It already is. He was wrong there.
Seriously.
That's where he was wrong.
I've huddled up with law enforcement, been endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, been endorsed by the State Trooper Alliance, and many sheriffs. I'm going to listen to them carefully, because whatever we do, they're going to be the ones that are going to have to enforce it.
Because if I don't listen to them, they won't give me campaign donations next time.
Correct.
Absolutely.
So I think the time is right that we look at it seriously.
Yeah, the time is right. The time is now. We're gonna we're gonna look at it, and we're going to get a commission, and we're gonna get cops and lawyers and doctors involved, and they're gonna tell me, and dude, what in the world? This is nonsensical. And I do have to hit back against McCormick for just a moment, because for nearly her entire campaign this year, very similar to her property tax plan, she said, well, we're going to have to look. 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 And then it's been less than a month. She was at an event with Rainwater. And at that event, for the first time, she dropped this plan that she had, which was basically a copy word for word of Rainwater's plan that he's been talking about since 2019, 2020, maybe before, with more craziness and extras and other nonsense added in. So she simply took a plan that was modeled very similar to Rainwater's and then added other nonsense to it, and then dropped that, and it was like, boom, look, I did this. And it was a big ordeal, and everybody was happy. Oh, she's dropped this plan. She dropped this plan. Well, okay, great. But Rainwater also dropped it 4 years ago, and without all the other nonsense. And so that's something that people need to take a look at. The other issue is it's very similar to what she did with her property tax deal. You know, when she's like, we're going to see, I'm going to see what we're going to do. And then boom, Braun goes on Kendall and Casey, and Rainwater had been talking about it. Remember, Braun also was saying, like, we're going to have to listen to what everybody says. And then because he's finally pushed into doing something, then he releases it, and then she also comes up with a plan. So these people are kind of late to the drawing board with all of this stuff, or coming away from the drawing board with all of this, because, like I said, Rainwater's been talking about this since 2020, most of this. So that's something that I think people need to understand.
Medical marijuana has got a lot of attributes to it. I think that's going to happen. That'd be something I'll seriously consider.
Yeah, right. You're
Again,
right.
I'll listen
You're right
to law
about that,
enforcement.
Tucker.
When it comes to recreational, that's going to cascade across the country as well. I'll think about that. Medical marijuana, I think we're probably ready for it.
Mr. Braun, thank you. Ms. McCormick, I see your hand is up. Same question to you.
Yeah, Mr. Rainwater mentioned the commission, and the commission is incredibly important to get that well-regulated industry right. We still don't have that established for hemp-related products. So we need to make sure that we're doing our due diligence, and this is rolled out in a way that it can be successful. That's why we would take those steps in order to make that necessary push into adult use after medical. The other piece too, I just have to say, it's so interesting to hear Republicans say that they would listen to law enforcement on this, because we certainly didn't do that on permitless carry.
Okay. Ms. McCormick, thank you. Candidates, thank you for your answers.
In your platforms, you each talked about either reducing or restructuring state government. That would imply eliminating or downsizing some agencies. So what specific agency or service would you look to eliminate first, and why? Mr. Rainwater, it's your turn to answer first. 60 seconds to you, sir.
Well, the first thing I think we need to do is not as much look at eliminating or reducing agencies as identifying money that is actually flying out the back door. You may be aware that it was recently reported that there was $724 million in Medicaid overpayments made that was discovered in 2017 and then basically swept under the rug because they didn't want to go and try to collect that money from the healthcare companies and the insurance companies that had been overpaid. We need to look at our state government, all 50-some agencies, and we need to identify where we are managing contracts badly, where overpayments exist, where the money is going out the back door, so that we can then determine what we need to do from there.
Rainwater, thank you very much. Mr. Braun, same question. How would you reduce the size of government? 60 seconds.
For the last 5.5 years, I've been hearing about that as I visit all 92 counties each year. And of all those agencies that Mr. Rainwater referred to, a lot of them have not had the thorough management and have not been gone through in terms of, do we need every employee there? Are we spending the money correctly? It's a $22 billion a year annual budget. Imagine if you could get 5% savings. That is a lot. And that's the way you could pay for a lot of other things you may want to do, or reduce taxes in general. I'm guessing there's not an agency there that doesn't have room to be run more efficiently. And for me, I did that for 37 years in a small business, scaling it into a regional and then a national company. That will be easy to do. We'll find those things to reduce costs and actually make them run more efficiently.
Okay, Mr. Braun, thank you very much. Ms. McCormick, 60 seconds. How would you reduce the size of government?
When I went into the Department of Education, which was one of the larger agencies, we are over half of the state budget as K-12. We went in that transition, and our team did a lot of interviewing and reviewing to see what programs were working, what programs were not, where we were lean and where we were heavy as far as staffing, and we made the appropriate adjustments. I would do that with every single agency. It's about efficiency, it's about effectiveness, but it's also about interagency connectivity. And right now, when you have 20 years of one-party rule, there is no crazy enough to think about, but I lived it. There is very little interagency collaboration to get things done. So common sense would tell you, which is why we need to bring that balance back to the State House, that needs to happen across the agencies. It's super interesting that Mr. Braun keeps bringing up his business as an example of how he successfully did it when he had problems with overtime wages that everybody knew about in Jasper, Indiana. But for me, it's about efficiency and effectiveness and making sure that we are being due diligent with taxpayer dollars.
Mr. McCormick, thank you very much. Mr. Braun, your name was brought up. I'll get to you, but Mr. Rainwater, would you like to go? It's your turn. Would you like to?
No.
Okay, Mr. Braun, then go ahead.
No, he said no again. Why?
So I think this is a place where you've got to look at the experience that you bring to this office. And if you've done that as a career, you've done it on the biggest stage out there where you've been constantly calling the federal government out to get its act in order. And that is a problem with both parties out there. But here, this is something that's practical. If you've had a record of growing a business, keeping costs under control, it should even be easier in government.
Mr. Braun, thank you. Ms. McCormick, 30 more seconds.
Yeah, I'm the only candidate here that has been in charge of a state agency. So that experience will serve me well when I am reviewing and making those decisions about state agencies. We've got a lot of great people in the state of Indiana that work in those state agencies, and they have great ideas. Why would we not listen to them and say, bring some practical solutions to the table, and let's get some savings for Hoosiers?
Okay, Mr. Rainwater, now you do want to rebut, so go ahead, 30 seconds. Sir.
Absolutely. So one thing I do want to point out, in my 25 years as a software engineer, I did spend 6 years with 2 different companies working as a contractor for the state of Indiana, working on software for FSSA, doing software quality assurance for several agencies. And I saw firsthand the bad management, the issues that are going on and what needs to be fixed. And unfortunately, someone may have years of experience, but when they've never actually fixed anything, that concerns me.
Mr. Rainwater, thank you very much. We have to move on. Thank you. Kari.
Let's go ahead and talk about jobs tonight. A key discussion point over the past few years has been preparing Indiana's workforce of the future. I want to ask you specifically about the state's minority communities. What will you do to get young men and women of color prepared for high-wage jobs in the state? Mr. Braun, that question to you.
So I think that's going to be applicable across the board. Helping those that have had the most struggle with it, to me, is something you simply have to put the priority on it. But until you get our system that's looking at what the high demand, high wage jobs are, and then give that to parents and make sure for the 150,000 jobs that we have out there that need a better high school training, that you don't stigmatize that and that you balance it out. Think about that. If you get those filled, that would be $3 to $4 billion into your economy. You wouldn't be misguiding kids into a bad career that doesn't have a job that you can get in Indiana. So for any segment of our economy, you got to have parents with the proper information, kids guided appropriately into degrees or trades where you can get a job in Indiana, or either they get exported out of state to find one or back in the basement.
Okay, Mr. Braun, thank you. Ms. McCormick, same question to you.
This is where we have to be really smart and use common sense. So our common sense economic development plan touches on this. We've got to be business friendly, but also take care of Hoosiers. And when you're looking at our most at risk areas and communities and where many of our minority families live, we've got to make sure that we are targeting our resources, not just in the job space, but looking at it in a bigger picture. Let's talk about affordable housing. Let's talk about healthcare access. Let's talk about quality education and quality health care. Let's talk about universal pre-K. Our workforce, regardless of who that is, we must have an educated and healthy workforce. We must have stable families and stable housing so that it betters everyone in the workforce. But we have to target those resources into areas most at need. And I give credit where credit's due. IEDC did a good job on regional grants, but there can be even further bulleting and focusing down even more minute into getting where those services need to go.
Thank you.
That's the Republican talking.
What will you do to get young men and women of color prepared for high-wage jobs in the state?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, Kate.
First of all, we have to recognize the fact that our state and local governments have abandoned many of the areas, whether they be urban or rural, that need the kind of help that we're talking about. If you take tax increment financing districts, for example, they were developed and designed specifically to help areas within the state that were economically disadvantaged. What it has turned into is a free-for-all opportunity to use tax increment financing to gentrify entire municipalities and actually keep minorities in a disadvantaged state. We need to turn that around, and that would be step one.
Okay, Mr. Rainwater, thank you. Each of your candidates, thank you for your responses.
All right, sit tight. We have a lot more to get to tonight. You're watching this All Indiana Politics special from Wish TV. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
Governor's debate. We are now in our final minutes, so let's get right back to our questions. Phil.
Yes, Dakari, thank you very much. You know, I want to ask about affordable housing. A new report out this week from the IU Public Policy Institute says Indiana is second worst in the Midwest for affordable rental housing. The city of Carmel has announced it will pursue a new plan to build more affordable single-family homes. As governor, what would you do about affordable housing in the state of Indiana? Ms. McCormick, we start with you this time, 60 seconds.
This is really a huge issue that I hear across the state, not just in big cities, but also in rural areas. I live in Henry County, and we certainly have an affordable housing issue there as well. And I know many communities are working on that. So I commend our local level leaders for doing so and the partners they have with several organizations. But defining what's affordable is also interesting. I've asked some that are working on that, you know, what is the new housing? What is it, you know, what is that price range for that? And many are over $250,000. And I'm not sure that's where we need to get for affordable housing. But also, too, our common sense property tax plan was one piece of this to try to keep renters renting where they are and being able to afford it, and also keep homeowners in their homes. And that takes property tax relief. And that's exactly what our property tax relief plan did. It's going to benefit everyone, homeowners and also renters, particularly veterans and seniors, also fair lending practices, and making sure that we're bringing partners to the table to have really great solutions.
Ms. McCormick, thank you very much. Mr. Rainwater, same question. What would you do about affordable housing in our state?
First of all, I think that it makes a lot of sense to say that property taxes are contributing to the lack of affordable housing, especially for renters, because we know that landlords, when their property taxes increase, they pass that on to the renters. The problem is that we're not going to solve the property tax issue by giving tax credits and deductions on your income taxes or limiting the increase after we roll back the property taxes to a previous level. What we've got to do is redo the state constitution, make sure that it's 1% of the purchase price of your property, it never goes up, and that it ends at some point so that you, whether you're a homeowner or a landlord, knows that there is an end date to when you owe property taxes so that you can own your property. And when that happens, renters will benefit from it.
Mr. Rainwater, thank you very much. Mr. Braun, 60 seconds on this one.
Well, I think that's the one thing that we all three agree on. And I think we held our hand up early. Property taxes have gotten out of line. Remember, mine is the plan that caps it at 3% to where it cannot go up more than that on your bill each year. That's the only one that keeps it to where it cannot be where they're asking you to pay more than the growth of our own economy and your ability to do it. The other issue that's made it more complicated is the inflation that we've inherited from a current administration that has made everything more expensive. I want to cite this one example of an individual I've gotten to know that is put not on multifamily, single family as well, has got the same issue. He has been entrepreneurial. He found the key to actually building an affordable 3-bedroom home on a slab to where you can afford it. You got to get local jurisdictions helping on stubbing in the utilities. To me, I'll try to be entrepreneurial before we try to do anything more through government.
Mr. Braun, thank you very much. We do have time for rebuttal. Ms. McCormick, go ahead. 30 seconds.
Part of the issue with this, too, is wages. We are 47th in the nation with annual wage growth, and that is a direct reflection of 20 years of one-party rule who don't want to police themselves and who do not want to help Hoosiers. So we've got to get those wages up. The other thing, too, is these gentlemen have property tax plans that would decimate our local governments, and our local governments have said that. Our chambers have said that, and our farmers and our Farm Bureau have said that. And so it's a matter of putting plans out that will, yes, add relief to Hoosiers, but also take care of our local levels. We cannot defund the police and our schools and our parks and our libraries. It just can't happen.
Thank you. 30 seconds to you, Mr. Rainwater. Go ahead, sir.
Two things I want to point out, fellow Hoosiers. First of all, Mr. Braun says that his plan is the only one that would limit the amount that your taxes, property taxes go up. He's correct, because mine would make sure that your property taxes never go up. Not 2%, not 3%, not at all. The other thing that I want to point out is this. Your property taxes are your money, and local government and state government are addicted to spending your money. Of course they don't.
Thank you very
want
much.
you to
30
get it
seconds is
back.
up. Mr. Braun, 30 seconds to you on rebuttal, sir.
So again, the plan that I've got is comprehensive, and it will make sure that homeowners, again, elderly, young, and a couple other categories, get reset to where they were before it all got out of hand. And then it puts a platform in place that's practical. Local governments and school districts are the lifeblood of government in this state. It's where it should be most active. But on the other hand, they got to live within the means of the taxpayer to be able to afford it.
Braun, thank you very much.
All right, it is now time for closing statements in our Indiana governor's debate.
Each candidate will have up to 90 seconds for a closing statement. The order was decided by a blind draw last week. We begin our closing statements with Mr. Braun. 90 seconds, sir.
So it's been an honor to serve Hoosiers in the U.S. Senate. Did that to where you've got a record to where you've been one of the most effective senators in the U.S. Senate as a freshman Senate office in areas like education, healthcare, agriculture. Imagine what you can do when you can come back and set the agenda and get along with a legislature that is a supermajority. That means you should get some stuff done. But the idea that you can get things done if you're not generally lined up with them is probably not going to work. I intend to come back, look at every agency, like I said before, be entrepreneurial in terms of doing the things that we need to do to take Indiana to that new horizon, make it a peer state of other entrepreneurial conservative states. I recently rolled out detailed plans on education, healthcare, agriculture, inflation in the economy, public safety, and quality of life, including rural broadband, many other categories. Look at it, Mike Braun for Indiana.com. If you want someone that's got a proven track record, build a little business into a regional company and a national one, 3 of your 4 kids running it, that's the American dream. That's what I intend to bring to Hoosiers.
Okay, Mr. Braun, thank you very much.
My
Our
life.
second closing statement goes to Ms. McCormick.
You
90
can have
seconds.
my life.
Thank you, Wish. Thank you, Phil and Dakari and team. I so appreciate it. Thank you to Mr. Rainwater and Senator Braun for being on the stage as well. Thank you to you, Hoosiers, for taking your time to be informed. Your charge is now go inform others. If you are looking for change, I am ready to bring it. I'm Jennifer McCormick, and I will be your next governor. I am a 5th-generation farm family. I am a teacher. I am a businesswoman. I was your last elected state superintendent of public instruction as a Republican. I am a wife, and I am a proud mom. I also am a Hoosier, and I know we need a governor we can trust and someone who we can like and someone who's going to bring common sense and balance to that state house. We are done with one-party rule. We also need someone who will fight for our freedoms, reproductive freedoms, making sure we have academic freedoms. We deserve that. Everyone that I talk to is ready for that change because we know we deserve a better government than what we have now. I have common sense plans out on education, on utilities, on the economy, on cannabis, on ethics. Go to the website, McCormickforGov.com. Look at those. But I will tell you, this is a choice. Do we want extremism? Do we want fear and chaos? Do we want someone who has a ticket that talks about book banning and white Christianism and Jezebel spirits and, and saying that Fisher's community is grooming kids? Is that what we want? No. We want optimism and opportunity. We want change. And I promise you, I will represent you well at home and on the national level.
Ms. McCormick,
thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Our final closing statement is Mr. Rainwater. Go ahead,
She's
sir.
shutting the lights down and everything.
First of all, thank you to everyone for being here this evening. I appreciate the opportunity to debate. I believe it's important. I appreciate each of you watching this evening. I'm just an everyday average Hoosier. I did not serve in the Indiana General Assembly or the U.S. Senate. I have not been the superintendent of public instruction. I'm just a hardworking Hoosier who is sick and tired of watching the federal government, the state government, and local governments run by Republicans and Democrats take more and more of my money and your money, and it goes out the window or out the back door, and there's no accountability and there's no change. And it doesn't matter who gets into office. There's no disruption of the status quo. Folks, I'm a libertarian. I am not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I don't have anybody pulling my strings or giving me large campaign donations in order to make sure that I do things their way. There is no Hope Inc. or Make It Red behind me. So I'm asking for your vote, because I'll go in and I'll disrupt the system, and we'll get an Indiana that makes everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. And thank you for joining us for this All Indiana Politics special.
And we want to thank our affiliates from around the state as well who joined us. You can find video of the full debate tonight on wishtv.com. Have a great rest of your night.
Like, for real, they couldn't give him a second to breathe, any of them. Nuts. Absolutely insane. Well, hello there, Donald Rainwater. Don is on here talking to us. He is live from Facebook. Hello there, sir. You did all right. You did well. I appreciate you stopping by and seeing what we were saying about you. How do you think that you did? How did it go? I don't know how long you've been here. I don't know if you've been here throughout most of it or not, but I only had two negatives about you to say, and so let's just get those out of the way here real quick. And they're not even really negatives. It just is what it is. Number one, the two times that you were like, nah, I don't need to take any more time, I was like, oh man, he should have talked more. And so that's not really, it is what it is. I mean, either way, no big deal. And then the only other thing is, and I have the same curse. You and I cannot say anything in 15 seconds. Or 30 seconds. Hell, we can't hardly say it in an hour, let alone a minute. So I have some of the same problems where you want to get into this, big story. And so I kept, come on. But that's it. Nobody's ever said I should talk more. Yeah. Hey, yeah, right here. Tucker, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not like some nonsense. This is the candidate who we were literally just watching, on stage. He's here talking right now. Last night he was on. Tucker, I don't know if you watched that last night, but he wasn't allowed to debate last night, but we actually had him on the program after the debate. And so we did about an hour and 15 minutes last night. So you can go back and catch that if you want to. So no, sir, I think you did a good job. I think it was good. I think that you had a couple really, really solid punches that you put in there, and I think it was a great time. Can't wait to see you on the stage on Thursday, the 24th, with the Indiana Debate Commission. Of course, I've watched debates with them before, so I kind of know what to expect, and I feel like it'll be a little better there, time-wise. And I think that'll be good. And then, of course, as I've told everybody, as I continue to remind everybody, we have the third and final town hall with Rainwater coming up here on the 17th of this month. So if you want to watch him on the program here on the 17th, he'll be on here and we'll be answering questions. Now, I do want to make it fair to everybody. I a little less talk and a lot more action. Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, I get it. No, you were fine. You were fine. You were fantastic. And look, the thing is, we can change you and shape you and mold you into being one of them, or we could not do that and we could let you be just who you are. That's why we like you. That's why we support you. That's why we're pushing for you, and let you go and do what you're telling us you're going to do, because that's who you are. If you were Mike Braun, you wouldn't be on here talking to me right now, and I wouldn't be supporting you. So I support you for being who you are. That being said, I have reached out to both of the candidates, as I've said elsewhere at the beginning of this debate tonight and in other shows. I have had somewhat of a personal relationship with Jennifer McCormick over the years. We have had a cordial relationship the few times that I've met and talked with her. She has always promised me that she would come on. She promised me about a year and a half ago, when she knew she was going to run, when she was talking about running and all of that stuff. She hadn't formally announced, but she was taking all the preliminary steps. She told me she would come on when she announced. And as I've told people multiple times, her campaign, after dodging me for all of January, all of February, all of March, all of May, all of June, July. No, I take that back. May, all of May. Her campaign finally reached out to me at the end of June, and we set up a day for her to come on. And we made that day, and she was supposed to come on live, the same as Don has done. She was supposed to come on Thursday, July 18th. And on July 8th, her media person called me or texted me and said, hey, we're going to have to reschedule this. Something's come up, yada, yada, yada. And basically from that point until sometime in early September, they ghosted me again. I then finally got a hold of the media person in September, to which she said, we're just fully booked up. And I said, really? Like, okay, we don't have to do it live. We're literally on air 5 nights a week, 2 hours a night. And if you can't do it one of those times, there's 23 other hours in the daytime. You let me know when you've got 15 minutes between here and there, and we can plop down and do a recorded call interview, and then we can air it during our time. and they just didn't want to do that. So she told me no. And look, I'm not going to go beating her door down. She said no. Okay. The way I look at it is she's running for your votes. She wants you to vote for her, but she doesn't want you to hear from her. So you're supposed to hear from her you're supposed to vote for her without hearing from her. And I just don't, that's not how I float my boat. I don't work like that. As far as Braun is concerned, I have been reaching out to his team as well. And when his lieutenant governor candidate, when he won the nomination back in June 14th or 15th or whenever that was, when he won that, he actually came on. It was Saturday the 15th in June. He actually we were the first show he was on after winning the nomination. He came on that next night, and he was on with us, and he did a great job. Enjoyed talking with Micah. It was what it was. He is who he is. Told him then, hey, I want to try to utilize you to get your running mate on. And he's like, okay. And then nothing materialized. I've talked to him. And, we're just, I'm not cool like Rob Kendall, so Braun didn't want to come on, and it is what it is. Again, Braun wants your vote. He wants you to vote for him. The thing is, Braun's like, the political what? The spot who? We don't know those people. I'm not going to talk to that idiot. He's based in where? Muncie? Where's Muncie? He doesn't care about us. He don't care about me. He don't care about you. He knows, hey, I'm running as a Republican. I've got people that just will hand me money hand over fist because they know I'll do what they want if they hand me the money. I'll talk to them. I'll listen to them. I imagine I could have donated, $30,000 to him and he would have came on or something like that. But that's not how we play. I think he has an obligation to talk to you. He chose not to, so you got to think about that. To hell with him being a Republican and you being conservative or thinking that you're a Republican. I'm going to tell you folks, if you're sitting in your house and you say, man, I love my God and my country and my family and my guns and my Bible and the First Amendment and the Second Amendment and the Third Amendment, and I watch Beck and I watch Bongino and I've voted straight Republican. Let me tell you, if you've been pissed off any point in the last 20 years in Indiana about your local government or your state government, 99% chance it was a Republican you were pissed off with. The Republicans at the local and the state level and at the federal level too, folks, they're not Republicans like they used to be. They're not Republicans like you and I are. And if you're tired of that, you got to do what my friend on the screen is saying right now. Vote Rainwater. I'm so sick of hearing people say, oh, what happened? You don't think he's gonna steal just enough votes away from Braun to let McCormick sneak in there? Or people say the other way, you don't think he's gonna steal just enough votes from? No, this is an election. You know what candidates do? They go out and they talk to people, or they're supposed to. I've never had a problem in getting Don on the show. Don goes to anybody who wants to talk to him. He'll talk to anybody. He just walks down the street and trips into radio interviews sometimes. He don't even know what's going on. He's like, hey, how'd I get here? I'm in another interview. He doesn't have a problem talking to people, talking to Hoosiers, but keep in mind, Braun's been to all 92 counties. He drove straight through it. He fueled up in a couple. And so we're supposed to think that means something, or you can vote for McCormick. She's a woman. You know what I mean? Straight party ticket voting shouldn't be an option. You should have to select each candidate. And let me tell you something, Tucker, whoever you are, Tucker White, excuse me. I don't know what I was going to call you there for a minute. Tucker White, let me tell you this. Half or at least 2/3, I don't know what I'm saying. 2/3, half, somewhere in there of your state representatives put out a survey at the beginning of this year. And on that survey, a lot of them had the question mark on there. Should we take a look at ending straight party voting? And do you know how many people at the State House received their surveys back? And that was one of the main things. But you know, they didn't do a damn thing with that because the people down at the State House do not care. Do not care. They do not care. The State House is concerned with what the HRCC is doing. They're concerned with what Todd Houston tells you. Let me tell you something that people, let me tell you what they are. Let me tell you what they are, what they're doing. There was a state representative that has been a state representative for all of about 15 seconds who went to his little county's county commissioners meeting, county council, and he stood in front of them a couple months ago and he promised them that, oh, Braun's going to win. He's going to be the governor. But his plan, his property tax plan, it's a disaster, and it's not going to happen. We're not going to do that. We're working on other plans, and we're going to push those other plans through. And they asked him what his gut feeling was. What was worst case, best case scenario? And his answer was, worst case scenario is Braun's plan. And this was a Republican state representative.
I'm sorry, what was his name? I'm going to look up the episode and put it in the comments so everyone can see. We're not pulling your chain.
Corey Criswell, District 54 in Henry County. And Corey Criswell's not a liar. He is not a liar. He's also not somebody just prone to making crap up. He's not just going to say things off the tip. They ask him a question and he in that meeting and he's like, no, I don't feel comfortable saying that. And the reason he didn't feel comfortable saying that's because he doesn't say things out of order. So I am telling you, I know Corey. The only reason he felt comfortable to get up there and speak, keep in mind, folks, he's speaking about Mike Braun. He's speaking against Mike Braun. Ooh, the only reason he had the gumption and the feeling to be able to do that is because he's heard that from his party leadership. He's heard it from the mouth of Todd Houston, and he's heard it from those that are backed by the HRCC. So he felt comfortable enough to get up and do that. I'm telling you, there is dissension between the Republican Party. All right, there's all kinds of chaos. And when they've got J.D. Prescott, District 33, running around selling some kind of bizarro property tax plan over their top of the ticket guy, he was just in Delaware County last night pushing his plan, J.D. Prescott plan, the property tax plan of J.D. Prescott. At the same time, the top of his ticket was doing a debate. They don't do things like that unless they know it doesn't matter if Braun wins. We're not doing his plan. We're not going to do that. That, folks, I'm telling you, you can put Braun in there, but we're going to be in the same boat we're in. Or you can stop doing this chicken shit thing that we do where we have short-term memories and we go into the polls and we say, well, I'm definitely not a liberal. Man, I don't want any of that California stuff coming here. So I guess I'll go ahead and I'll vote for Braun. You know what you could do? You could breathe. You could blow it out and you could say, you know what? I've listened to Rainwater talk, and there are things that maybe I don't agree with. There are little blips here, blips there, but if I can get even 30% back from my government in what matters to me, that's a hell of a lot more than what I'm getting from them now. Right now, I'm only like 2% happy with what's going on in my government. So if I can get, if it's a lot more than 30, in my opinion, with Rainwater, but if I could even get 30% from Rainwater, that is a major improvement. He's earned my vote. And, you know, that's it. It is. I don't know. That's the only way that's the only way I can say it. So, you know, you can go in and listen, folks. Let me tell you, even if you're going to go in and vote for Braun, do not vote straight party. Go down the list and select it all. Do not pick straight party. That is absolutely horrible. That is just not something that you should do. That's straight party should not be on there. It's completely nuts. Stand by here 1 second. I'm looking this up. Hold on. Man, is anybody having a slow internet? I hate it. We've been doing so well here at the studio, and then all of a sudden, 2 nights in a row, last night and tonight both, I've been having slow connection. Man, what is happening here? Damn it. Okay, that's what I thought. Steve, you said that. Oh, hold on. Sorry, we had a freeze there. Steve, you said that Rainwater received 11,000 votes in 2020. He received a little bit more than 11,000 votes. He received 345,569 votes in 2020. So you guys voted for him in 20 or let me see. Did I vote for you? I think I think if I came and helped you guys with that, I'm pretty sure that you did. I can't remember. Because you surely you wouldn't have voted for Holcomb. And I'm pretty sure you didn't vote for Woody Myers. One thing here, folks. All right. Let me see here. Yeah. All right. So sorry there. We're second place in 32nd. Yeah. Yes. Second place in 33 out of 92 counties. Which is pretty amazing. What was the issue that didn't carry him into the governor's seat? The fact that he is a libertarian and people in Indiana have this thing where they have a need to go in and vote for only someone that has an R behind or in front of their name. It's this thing that's crazy because people spend 4 years bitching about how screwed up the Indiana government is, how screwed up the General Assembly is, how screwed up the state house is, how screwed up local government is, how screwed up our roads are, how screwed up our Medicaid system is, how screwed up the Department of Child and Family Services is. Our cops and our firefighters don't make enough, and our elected officials at the local and state level make too much, and everything sucks. But they walk in to the ballot box and they pick a Republican. And the very few people that don't do that, they go in and say, well, I'm a Democrat, so I'm going to push the D. And the Democrats get elected in Indianapolis and in Evansville and in Gary. They used to get elected in Muncie. And but outside of those areas, it's all Republican all the time because people have some kind of election day amnesia. Election day amnesia. Tucker White says, if we could circle back to the 1% tax for 7 years, Is there any place Rainwater has talked about this before? Why those numbers and how realistic is it? I tell you what. I'm even going to say this. Tucker, on I don't know if you've got, I don't know where you are, if you've got social media, Tucker, but I would like to connect with you on social media. If you have Facebook, Kate, can you put my Facebook up? If you've got Facebook, Kate's going to put my Facebook up at the top at the screen. My name is Christopher Bilbrey on Facebook. Christopher's with a K, Kristopher, or facebook.com/Bilbrey, Bilbrey 318. If you want to connect with me on Facebook, I'd like to chat with you and talk to you. If you don't have Facebook, you can connect with me on X if you have X or Twitter. And there it's just simply Bilbrey Live. I'm at Bilbrey Live, Live. We don't even need to put that. Well, she's already put it up. Hell, look at that. Hey, the power of the social media. Tucker's already sent me a friend request. And the reason I ask you that is because here's what's going to happen. Because I want Don to give a good answer to that. And I'm sure he could type something up, but it's always better to do it. We're going to do a question and an answer town hall forum on the 17th. And that will be the very first question I ask him about the, like, you know, where else has he, I'm sure he's talked about that on his page or whatnot, but you know, what the realistic possibility of those numbers are. And, you know, we'll dance around with that. And so what I will do is, if you can watch that, fantastic. But if you can't, I will shoot you the link in Messenger. And that's the reason I wanted you to connect with me on social media. But yeah, I hope you like that. If this is your first time here, I hope that you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. We go live 5 nights a week. We're live Sunday through Thursday. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 9 p.m. We are live each of those nights. We're normally live for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, and we cover local, state, and national politics. We do a lot with local and state because I feel like it's very, very important. We're going to start kicking over into some more national politics here starting, well, tomorrow we're actually going to be live doing a special show on a Friday. We're normally not live on Friday, but we will be live tomorrow because we're just getting close to the election, and we're going to be live a lot extra for the next 30 days. But yeah, if wherever you live, you know, if you're interested in, if something's going on in your local area and you're interested in talking about it or whatever, you know, we look around in different areas throughout Indiana and involve ourselves in issues and corruption and yada, yada, yada. I'm not a news guy. I'm not a journalist. I don't consider myself a professional by any stretch of the imagination. I'm an American citizen. I'm a guy that loves politics and getting this information out there. I hate corruption. I hate people not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I want to make sure that things are better. I consider myself a right-leaning, former Republican, conservative, libertarian, constitutionally conservative-minded person, and that's that. So, yeah, if we're getting new people watching, maybe it's because we're sharing the link to some of these other political podcasts. I hope that is working. If we're getting new people watching the show, maybe it is because we are sharing the link to some of these other political podcasts. I hope that is working. Listen to me. I have heard that, I've seen and heard a lot of people are doing that. And so if you guys are out there doing that, please continue to do that. I don't like jumping on other people's stuff and like putting my own crap, but I will periodically, specifically if there's like a link to something that they're talking about. But I've seen people that have been doing that. So if you're doing that, please continue that. Thank you for doing that. And that's just that's one way to really help out with that. I've been a political podcaster, broadcaster now for going on 7 years. I had built up a pretty big audio podcast listener base. And then we switched to YouTube and completely just killed that other podcast altogether, which was stupid. Should not have done that. And it just didn't translate over. We really didn't tell people well enough and nothing really happened. We built up a YouTube channel called The Bastards of Politics. We had close to 20,000 subscribers and whatnot. And then we had a divorce. We had a partnership that broke up. There's 3 of us over here, myself, Brandon Rudd, and producer Kate. And there was a 4th person, and we broke up and we started we started a page that had 38 people on it and are slowly building back up. So that's the reason why we're so limited, but it is what it is. So, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, Iron Maiden, we don't have to fit into boxes when it comes to voting. That's very true. It is so true. I have long said, because I used to get a lot of heat for this. First of all, locally, and even to some extent on the state level, being Republican or Democrat truly doesn't matter. You know, when you're talking about local politics and you're talking about paying police or fire or paving the streets or trash, removing trash, you know, what your opinion is on the Second Amendment doesn't affect any of that. What you believe a woman should do in the case, god-awful situation that an abortion may or may not be needed or should what, that doesn't factor into should we give Larry Johnson down the street $50,000 for a facade grant. That's got nothing to do with that. Talking about the death penalty and the political industrial complex doesn't factor into planning and zoning in your local area. And so I've always said, like, on the local and state level, I've supported people all over the spectrum, Republicans, Democrats, I've definitely supported people on the local level that I would not support on the federal level and vice versa. I've thought people on the federal level were great, but I wouldn't vote for them for a city councilor. So that's went both ways on that. But as far as being a political being, that only matters if I'm an elected official. Me being a Republican doesn't affect you in any way other than if I'm governing you, or me being a Democrat, or me whatever. As far as who I support, there are just people that I support. And sometimes they're this way and sometimes they're that way. I know some Republicans that most of you would think would be the craziest liberals in the world, but they are hardcore constitutional conservative Republicans. But it's just their approach to life. I know some really whacked out liberal minded people that like I said, that are really Republican in all practical sense, and vice versa. And so it is what it is. I don't get all caught up in that. And the thing is, people getting so mad one way or another, at the end of the day, you don't change anybody's mind. You got to be, it's celebrating the small victories. It's one step forward and 75 steps back. You know, you don't change people's mind through hard work and talk and stats and showing information. You're definitely not going to change their mind through yelling and screaming and cussing and carrying on. It is just what it is. It's just got to sink in and it's got to click, and people kind of navigate. My belief is I want people to engage and to interact with my content the way that I interact with content. I listen to people that I like on both the right and the left, and I listen to people that I hate on the right and on the left. I read content from liberal sources and conservative sources. I listen to Fox News, and I listen to CNN, I listen to MSNBC, I listen to conservative podcasts and liberal podcasts and everywhere in between. And then from there, I develop my view of the world. And if I can find an answer out about something on a site that has nothing to do with politics, that's always the best way to do. I read and take in alternative media, and I want people to do that. I don't want you to just come here, watch my show, and take it as the gospel and check out and do no other research. I want you to research for yourself. Again, one of the things we always say here is education is the first thing. You've got to get educated before you get involved. If you get involved before you're educated, you might as well not be involved. You're going to screw shit up. So that's that. That's that. If you want more, vote for Braun and McCormick. The bottom line is Braun and McCormick are the same thing. They're just two sides of the same thing. So you can vote for the same thing, or you can vote for Rainwater. You don't have to do either one. You don't need to do either one. Or you could do them both, I guess, if you figure out a way to do that. Hey, I do want to say before we go, while we've been in the midst of messing with all of this, it looks like the reports have come in that the dock workers strike is on a temporary suspension. That they have suspended the strike. They have suspended the strike until, this is very important, they have suspended it until January 15th. So they're going to give them a couple more months to try and come up with an agreement. By then, if they can come up, and they think that they have a tentative agreement in place. They think that they have a tentative agreement. So if that's the case, then everything's good. If not, then it'll be doom and gloom, and your toilet paper will disappear, and we'll have to go back to using corn cobs and all that other shit. So, yeah. Well, I've seen in some places that they've that'll get us through Christmas. Yeah. Everyone's like, oh, well, hey, wait, hey, Richard Sell, thank you. I appreciate you stopping by and saying Rainwater Hudson. I want to tell everybody this. Listen, I have not my entire life since Twitter started. I remember my very, very, very first tweet. I just sent out a tweet and it said, what is this thing? Because it made no sense to me. I did not understand Twitter. And I didn't truly understand Twitter until I started this podcast. Everyone told me that I needed to get a Twitter with Perception is Reality, and I never did. And then everyone said I needed to. We needed to with the Bastards of Politics, and I set one up, but I didn't use it right. And now I'm in love with Twitter. But here's the thing. None of you people are on it. So I'm talking to all kinds of other people out in the world. And I think that that's where some people are coming from too, because we are getting a massive following on Twitter. I'm still waiting on mine. I have yet to make a tweet. Wait a minute. Do you have it? Do you have it? Oh no. No, Twitter's the best thing ever. It's I'll put it to you this way. Of course, there are those that are going to make a political statement about it, not liking it because they don't like Elon because of what his politics is. That's nuts. We literally just got done saying, why should we care? Don't have a problem with him because of who he supports politically. Why does that matter? We just got done talking about all this kumbaya stuff. He can support who he wants. I don't give a shit. He can support the other people. Well, it is whatever. Twitter is good for people who are interacting with like elected officials and public facing people and news. It's very good for like journalistic things. You get a lot of breaking information faster than they can get it out on the television news. It's on Twitter. That's why it's good. It's good there. It's good for like journalistic research and getting information and finding the articles that people are using and going to. And look, that's probably very true. It probably is on its way down just as I'm starting to like it. You know what I mean? That's probably very true. So it is what it is. All right, folks. Hey, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you very much. This has been a great day. It's a good day for Don. I'm impressed with his work he did today. There's one more debate. The debate is on Thursday, October 24th. There is one more town hall. That's actually before it. That will be on Thursday, the 17th. Both of those are at 7 p.m. It'll be fun. It'll be great. And we'll love it. I like all of you new listeners tonight. Thank you for being here. Tucker, thank you for being here. All you guys, thank you for being here. All of you regular people that are here, that have been here time and time again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please do us a favor and smash that like button before you leave. That would be wonderful. Share the show with everyone you know. That is very helpful. If you could do that, we would very much appreciate it. And we will be back here tomorrow at 9 p.m. And folks, tomorrow is going to be another big show because we've got a lot of local stuff to talk about. We've got some Madison County stuff to talk about. I've got some big breaking news, and it's not good. It's not good stuff. So we're gonna take a loss on the situation in Madison County. So, and I'll explain to you everything I mean by it. And it's a political bullshit. It's somebody did something stupid, and it's going to affect people who had nothing to do with it. So I'll explain it to you guys tomorrow. You guys have a great rest of your night. Have a good Friday. It's the weekend. We'll see you tomorrow. Episode 300. That's a big deal. All right, you guys have a good night. Take care. God bless. And peace.